Deep beneath the icy waters of Lake Baikal lies a world shrouded in mystery. Ancient secrets, bizarre creatures, and eerie encounters that defy explanation. Scientists call it the Galapagos of Russia, home to unique lifeforms found nowhere else, while locals whisper about towering humanoid swimmers, glowing orbs vanishing into the depths, and a history of Soviet divers facing the unknown. Is Lake Baikal simply a marvel of nature, or does it hide something far more extraordinary? Join us as we dive into the science, the myths, and the chilling tales of the world's deepest and most enigmatic lake.
All right, so today we're going deep on Lake Baikal.
Ah, Lake Baikal.
And you know you've sent over a ton of research on this, and it's
A lot, yeah.
it's fascinating. I mean, we've got scientific papers, historical accounts, even some like spooky local legends. It's
It's really interesting. I think
Yeah.
what makes Lake Baikal so interesting is that it's a place where, science and the unexplained, they bump into each other.
right.
You've got the world's deepest freshwater lake in Siberia, and it's teeming with life, so much so that scientists call it the Galapagos of Russia.
Galapagos of Russia. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a pretty bold statement. What makes it so special?
Well, it's really old, like 25 to 30 million years old. I mean, that's older than the Himalayas even existed.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's had all this time for life to just evolve on its own, and that's kind of how it got that nickname, the Galapagos of Russia, because it has all these species that you won't find anywhere else.
So we've got this ancient, isolated lake, chock full of mystery. But let's start with what we do know. What is this deep biosphere thing I keep reading about?
Okay, so the deep biosphere, imagine like this hidden world under the lake bed.
Okay.
It's super high pressure, crazy temperatures, almost no oxygen, and yet somehow life is just thriving there.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's mostly microbes, bacteria, archaea, even some fungi that have figured out how to live in conditions that would kill most things.
That's insane. I mean, an entire ecosystem in what sounds like a pretty hostile environment. How do we even discover this?
Well, it actually started in the ocean, believe it or not.
Okay.
Back in the late 1960s, this research vessel, the Glomar Challenger.
More challenges.
Yeah, they were drilling into the ocean floor, and bam, they found evidence of these microbial communities way down in the sediment.
So that's where the whole idea of a deep biosphere comes from.
Exactly. And the really cool thing is, in Lake Baikal, scientists have found that these deep-dwelling microbes are making this stuff called rutin. Yeah, it's a chemical that's usually found in like the resin of coniferous trees, pine trees, firs, things like that.
Oh.
But finding it being made by microbes under a lake, that's totally unexpected, and it really makes us rethink how this chemical is formed in the first place.
So are we talking about like rewriting textbooks here?
Potentially, yeah. Two scientists, Olga Pavlova and Sergei Bukin, they've been leading the charge on this research, and they've even called these microbes aliens from Baikal.
Aliens from Baikal. That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
what are the implications of this? I mean, could this change how we think about the formation of things like fossil fuels?
That's a really good question, and scientists are trying to figure that out right now. It's possible that these microbes could hold clues to ancient climates, even the processes that formed fossil fuels.
Wow.
It's really fascinating.
Okay, so the deep biosphere is one thing, but we've also got all these incredible creatures living in the lake itself that have adapted to this unique environment over millions of years.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the most fascinating is the Baikal seal, a true master of adaptation.
Right, the Baikal seal.
Yeah, it's the only exclusively freshwater seal in the entire world, and how it got to Lake Baikal is a mystery in and of itself.
That is a mystery for sure, and we'll get to that.
Definitely.
But first, I've got to ask about these Lake Baikal swimmers.
Ah, yes, the swimmers.
I mean, giant humanoid figures, silver suits, underwater encounters. It's like something out of a movie.
It really is, and the stories are so vivid, it's hard not to get caught up in them.
So where do we even start with this? I mean, what's the truth behind all these tales?
Well, the most famous account goes all the way back to 1982. Soviet Navy divers claim they ran into these 3-meter-tall humanoid figures in silver suits with these strange helmet-like devices.
3 meters tall. That's taller than a basketball hoop.
I know, right? And the details they give are incredible, powerful movements, glowing eyes visible through transparent helmets. Some even say they had webbed hands and feet.
Okay, now that's just creepy what happened during these encounters.
Well, the stories get even wilder. Some say the divers tried to capture one of these beings, but were thrown back.
Seriously?
Yeah, and there are even rumors of a tragic accident involving a faulty decompression chamber that led to the deaths of several divers.
Oh, wow. So are you saying these encounters turn violent?
Yeah.
That divers might have died trying to capture these things?
It's a chilling thought, isn't it? But here's the thing. The Soviet Navy never officially confirmed any of this, and the base where these dives supposedly took place denies any knowledge of it.
So we're left with these incredible stories, but no real proof. I mean, is it possible the divers just saw something else and mistook it for these swimmers?
That's what some skeptics say. They suggest maybe it was seals in low visibility or some weird underwater phenomenon that got misinterpreted, in a dark, unfamiliar environment like the depths of Lake Baikal. Anything's possible.
Yeah, it's true. But what about those other accounts you mentioned earlier? The fishermen who saw silver figures leaping from the water, the local legends of creatures called pharaohs. It's like this theme of strange humanoid beings in Lake Baikal just keeps popping up.
It's definitely a recurring theme, and those accounts add another layer of intrigue to the whole mystery. The fisherman's story comes from the 1990s, decades after the alleged diver encounters, and the legend of the pharaohs, these human-like beings with fishtails, goes back centuries in local folklore. It's like this idea of strange beings in the lake has been around for a very long time.
Okay, now my imagination is really going wild. Are we talking about an undiscovered species?
Right.
Or something even more unexplainable?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's not just the swimmers that have people talking about the unexplained. Lake Baikal has a history of UFO sightings, too.
Wait, UFOs as in spaceships in the water?
Well, not exactly spaceships,
Yeah.
but there are a bunch of reports of strange lights and objects being seen both in the sky and in the water, glowing orbs, red and orange lights moving erratically, some even seeming to dive into the lake itself. There's one account from a dive instructor named Alec Chulin who described seeing a red orb suddenly shoot out of the water and up into the sky at an incredible speed.
So we've got mysterious swimmers, possible UFOs. It's almost like Lake Baikal is a portal to another dimension or something.
It's easy to get carried away with all the possibilities, but just like with the swimmers, there's no hard evidence. Most of these UFO accounts rely on eyewitness testimony, which can be unreliable.
I'm starting to think Lake Baikal is one of those places where reality and myth just kind of blur together. What's fascinating is that even without concrete proof, these stories just keep going. There's something about this lake that just captures our imagination and makes us wonder what else might be out there.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even in our modern scientific world, there are still places on Earth that hold an aura of mystery places that hint at possibilities beyond our current understanding.
After diving into all of this, I think we might need a bigger boat and maybe a team of paranormal investigators to really unravel the secrets of Lake Baikal.
That might not be a bad idea.
It's amazing to think that a place like this can still hold so many secrets. We've explored its depths, encountered its strange inhabitants, and delved into stories that seem to defy explanation. It's like stepping into a real-life science fiction novel.
It really is. What I find so fascinating is how these mysteries often come from us trying to make sense of things we don't understand. We see something we can't explain, and our minds just start filling in the gaps with all sorts of possibilities, some plausible, some outlandish.
I guess it's human nature to try and find explanations, even if they venture into the paranormal or the supernatural. But what really strikes me is that even with all our scientific progress, there are still places on Earth that feel almost mythical.
Lake Baikal is the perfect example. It's a place where science and ancient legends are intertwined. We have these groundbreaking discoveries about the deep biosphere, the unique ways its creatures have adapted. But we also have these persistent stories of strange encounters, unexplained phenomena. It's like the lake itself embodies the mysteries that still exist in our world.
After all this, I'm left with this sense of awe, but also a healthy dose of skepticism. It's easy to get swept up in the more sensational stories, but I think it's important to approach these mysteries with a critical mind.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding that balance between embracing the wonder of the unknown and staying grounded in critical thinking. We should be open to the possibility that there are things out there we don't understand yet, but we should also be careful about jumping to conclusions without enough evidence.
So where do we go from here? Do we just accept that Lake Baikal will always keep some of its secrets? Or do we keep searching for answers, keep pushing the boundaries of our knowledge?
I think the search for answers is what drives us as humans. It's what fuels scientific exploration, inspires art, and literature shapes how we see the world. As for Lake Baikal, I have a feeling it will continue to fascinate and mystify us for generations to come. Who knows what new discoveries are waiting in its depths or what new stories will emerge from its shores.
Well, after this deep dive, I can definitely say that Lake Baikal is a place that will stick with me. It's a reminder that even in our modern world, there are still places where reality and imagination blur, where the known and the unknown dance together in this captivating way.
Beautifully put. And that's the real beauty of Lake Baikal. It reminds us that there's still so much out there to discover, to explore, to wonder about. It's a call to keep our minds open, our curiosity alive, and to never stop seeking answers to the mysteries that surround us.
Well said. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey into the heart of Lake Baikal. It's been fascinating, thought-provoking, and at times even a little spine-tingling.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the ones to unlock the next chapter in the ever-unfolding mystery of Lake Baikal.
So the Baikal seal, the Nerpa, it's got that thick fur, those big eyes.
Yeah, they're pretty adorable.
But it's that whole holding its breath for 40 minutes thing. I mean,
It's incredible, isn't it?
that just blows my mind. I can barely hold mine for a minute trying to find my keys at the bottom of the pool.
Well, they've got to dive deep for food and those adaptations.
Speaking of food, their main prey, the Galamyanka,
Oh, yeah, that's another fascinating one.
almost all fat, no swim bladder, somehow defying all the laws of buoyancy.
It's really a puzzle, isn't it? This translucent fish just floating in the depths of Lake Baikal, its high fat content, and its unique skeleton. Somehow it all works together to keep it neutrally buoyant even without a swim bladder.
It's like a perfect example of how life just finds a way to adapt.
Exactly. Even in the most extreme environments.
So we've got this ancient lake, these bizarre creatures. But you mentioned earlier unexplained phenomena.
Oh, yes.
Are we going there now? Into the truly mysterious...
We are. Buckle up because we're about to dive into one of Lake Baikal's biggest enigmas, the Lake Baikal swimmer.
This is one that really gave me chills when I was reading through everything. Giant humanoid figures, silver suits, underwater encounters.
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
So tell me what's the real story here?
Well, the most well-known account is from 1982. Soviet Navy divers claim they encountered these 3-meter-tall humanoid figures in silver suits with strange helmet-like things.
3 meters tall.
I know.
That's huge. And what about
Huh.
their faces? Could they see them?
Well, the stories get even more interesting. They describe powerful movements, glowing eyes visible through transparent helmets. Some accounts even say they had webbed hands and feet.
Webbed hands and feet. Okay, this is getting a little too weird for me. What happened during these encounters? I mean, did they interact with these things?
It depends who you ask. Some say the divers tried to capture one of these beings but were violently repelled.
Repels how?
Thrown back, basically. And there are even these whispers of a tragic accident, a faulty decompression chamber that led to the deaths of several divers who were involved in the whole incident.
Wait, are you saying these encounters turn violent? That people might have died trying to capture these things?
Yeah. It's a dark thought, isn't it? But the thing is, the Soviet Navy never officially confirmed any of this. And the base where the dive supposedly took place, they deny knowing anything about it.
So it's all just hearsay then.
Pretty much. We're left with these incredible stories, but zero hard evidence.
So what are we supposed to believe? I mean, is it possible the divers just mistook something else for these swimmers, like seals or some strange underwater thing?
That's what some skeptics think. They say maybe the divers saw seals in bad visibility and just misinterpreted what they were seeing. Or maybe it was something as simple as weirdly shaped ice formations reflecting light in a way that looked like helmets or suits.
I guess that's possible, especially in an environment like that. But what about those other accounts you mentioned? The fishermen who saw silver figures leaping from the water. The local legends about creatures called pharaohs.
Those are the things that really make you wonder. The fisherman story is from the 1990s, way after the diver stuff. And the legend of the pharaohs, these human-like beings with fishtails that goes back centuries in local folklore. It's like this idea of strange beings in Lake Baikal just won't go away.
It's like a recurring nightmare. But are we talking about an undiscovered species here? Or something even weirder?
Now that is the million-dollar question. And it's not just the swimmers that have people talking about the unexplained. Lake Baikal also has its share of UFO sightings.
UFOs, hold on, are we talking spaceships flying into the lake?
Not quite spaceships. But there are tons of reports of strange lights and objects seen both in the sky and in the water, glowing orbs, red and orange lights moving all over the place. Some even appearing to dive into the lake. One guy, a dive instructor named Alec Chulin, described seeing a red orb suddenly shoot out of the water and up into the sky like it was nothing.
So we got mysterious swimmers, possible UFOs. I mean, is this place some kind of interdimensional portal or something?
It's definitely got that vibe. But just like with the swimmers, there's no real proof. Most of these UFO accounts are based on what people say they saw, which isn't always reliable.
It all feels very X-Files.
Yeah.
But I guess that's part of the allure of Lake Baikal. It's a
Yeah.
place where reality and myth kind of become one.
It is. And what's fascinating is that even without concrete evidence, these stories, they just keep circulating. There's something about Lake Baikal that really captures our imaginations and makes us wonder what else might be out there.
Maybe it's because it reminds us that even with all our technology and science, there are still places on Earth that feel truly mysterious.
Exactly. Places that hint at possibilities we haven't even begun to understand.
You know, after going through all of this, I'm starting to think we might need more than just a bigger boat. We might need a whole team of paranormal investigators to really get to the bottom of what's going on in Lake Baikal. I'm telling you, we need to get Jacques Cousteau on the phone.
He might have some insights for sure.
It's incredible to think about all the secrets this lake holds.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about the depths, the creatures, the stories that just defy explanation. It's wild.
It's like something out of a science fiction novel, but it's real.
Exactly. And what I find so fascinating is how we as humans try to make sense of these things we can't explain.
It's natural. We see something we don't understand, and our minds just start filling in those blanks.
Right, with possibilities, plausible ones, and some that are just out there.
And I think that's what makes these stories so compelling. They tap into that innate curiosity we have about the unknown.
But what really strikes me is that even with all our scientific advancements, there are still places on Earth that hold this almost mythical quality. And Lake Baikal is a perfect example.
It really is a place where science and ancient legends, they just intertwine. We have these groundbreaking discoveries about the deep biosphere, the incredible ways life is adapted. But then we also have these persistent stories of strange encounters and unexplained phenomena. It's like the lake itself is this living embodiment of the mysteries that still exist in our world.
You know, after all of this, I'm left with this sense of awe, but also a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the more sensational stuff, but I think it's important to approach these mysteries with a critical mind.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance between embracing the wonder of the unknown and maintaining a healthy skepticism. We should be open to the possibility that there are things out there that we don't understand yet, but we also need to be careful about jumping to conclusions without enough evidence.
So what now, do we just accept that Lake Baikal will always keep some of its secrets, or do we keep searching for answers, keep pushing the boundaries of what we know?
I think that search for answers is at the core of what makes us human. It fuels our scientific exploration. It inspires our art and literature. It shapes how we understand the world. And as for Lake Baikal, well, I have a feeling it's going to continue to captivate and mystify us for a long time to come. Who knows what new discoveries are waiting in its depths or what new stories will emerge from its shores.
Well, after this deep dive, I can confidently say that Lake Baikal is a place that I won't soon forget. It's a reminder that even in our modern world, there are still places where reality and imagination blur, where the known and unknown dance together in this captivating way.
I love that. And that's the real beauty of Lake Baikal. It reminds us that there's still so much out there to discover, to explore, to wonder about. And it's a call to keep our minds open, keep our curiosity alive, and never stop seeking answers to the mysteries that surround us.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into the heart of Lake Baikal. It's been fascinating, thought-provoking, and at times even a little bit spine-tingling.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the ones to unlock the next chapter in the ever-unfolding mystery of Lake Baikal.